Welcome to the It Matters podcast. I'm your host, Walter Perez, and let's dive in as we help you grow your mindset and elevate your leadership. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the It Matters podcast. My name is Walter Perez, and I'm your host, and I'm excited that you're joining me on another episode. Can you believe it? It's almost the end of the year, and we only have 2 episodes left this year. And I have a very special guest today that I'm excited to introduce you to. Her name is Amanda Josephson, and I'm excited for what we're going to chat because Amanda and I have actually known, our families have known each other for quite a few years. Over 10 years, I think is the number, around there anyway. And one thing that I love about what Amanda and her family represent is they understand leadership. They have an amazing mindset. Their faith is also a priority, and I just love what they represent. But today I also wanted to talk with Amanda because she started a company, a business, and it's called Clutter. And we're going to unpack that. What is that all about? But Amanda, welcome to the It Matters podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's such a privilege. You know, when I realized what you were working on, and kind of your passion behind that, I knew, I'm like, okay, we need to have a further conversation because I think what you're trying to solve, the problems that you're trying to help people with, is actually a pretty big deal. But we'll get to that in a second.
Okay, sounds good.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I have been married for, I think, 17 years. My husband's a numbers guy, so he would know better than me, but I'm just going to go with 17.
All right.
And we have 4 kids. So our oldest is 8 and our youngest is 2. Cool. So about every 2 years, we had a baby. So like jobs have ebbed and flowed with kind of that for me. But yeah, that's me.
You guys have such a beautiful family. You have, you're reminding me that you have 3 girls and a boy.
Yeah.
And I see that you figured out the formula like the way my wife and I did with that every 2 years.
Yes, we figured that out.
Yeah, you figured out the code. And so
it's a magic time. Yeah.
Way to go. What a blessing to have a bigger family. Yeah. And I know you guys are great parents, so that's so cool that you get to adventure with a bigger family. And that's so cool.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what this Cut the Clutter is all about.
Okay. So another thing that I didn't tell you, that kind of bit of my backstory is when my husband and I got married, we moved 7 times in the first 6 years of our marriage.
Wow.
And so one thing that I think we learned in that, which was not on purpose, was just that we learned how to get rid of stuff. Because we didn't want to move anything that we didn't absolutely love or that wasn't working with our family, especially because we were moving from, small place to small place. We didn't have a lot of room to have extra stuff around. So I actually think that helped us a lot. I think that was one of the reasons why we were able to get rid of stuff so early on. So I think that kind of shaped how we think about stuff now is we just hold things very loosely. I don't have a strong, I don't know if I'm not very sentimental. That might be part of it, but I don't have a strong attachment to things. And so I think that is helpful in helping other people to just kind of part with some stuff. So that was kind of,
so is that kind of the origin of this? Or
I guess,
do you think that, I don't know how you grew up, but was there something about your personality as a young girl that, you can link to it, and maybe not? But
well, I don't really know. I think it was mostly adulthood.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then, now we've been in the same place for, I guess, over 10 years. And so but with kids and everything that comes along with that, I'm also realizing how often we really need to look at what we own, and we need to kind of get rid of some stuff. Yeah. And it's really freeing. And I feel I don't know, just really important. Yeah. I don't know.
It's so true, especially when you have a bigger family. You're always going to have opportunities to get rid of stuff.
Yeah.
And I know, because I also have a lot of kids, and you go into my house and it's where is this coming from, right?
Yeah.
And we're just around the corner at the time of this episode. When it's being released, it's Christmas.
Yeah.
We might be getting a lot of more stuff.
Yeah.
And
yes.
So this is an important conversation because maybe we feel we got to just keep it in.
Right.
So why do you think decluttering is such an important thing? Like, yeah, I know that you're passionate about it for you and your family, but why do you see that being such an essential thing?
I think because it's really easy to get like bogged down with stuff. So I think, I don't know, in my experience, the more stuff you own, the more things you have to maintenance, the more things you have to kind of like, I don't know, like take care of. And so it kind of happened out of like just seeing other people, other friends, like needing help in that department. And so that's kind of where it like became a natural kind of side gig for me, if you can call it that, is just because there was a need for it. And and I didn't realize people had such a sentimental attachment to things. But I think even just having like somebody come alongside you, then you have to defend why you have this thing that you like haven't used in 10 years, that you like keep in a box that you're never going to look at. And then when you have to defend that to somebody, then you're like really questioning like, oh, okay, maybe I can part with this. And
it's hilarious. Okay, I gotta be transparent here. I can see that I have stuff in boxes that I'm like, I haven't opened that for years. Like, why in the world do I have that? Now we can come up with reasons on why that's happened, but 100% it happens.
So I am a classic, like I would call myself an over purger. So I'm the person that will get rid of something and maybe a year later be like, where's that big serving dish now that we're having company and we don't own it anymore? Because I just thought I'm never going to use this. And then, sometimes then you have to purchase something, but I just think I'd rather like not live with the least I can. And I'm not a minimalist by any stretch, but because I have 4 kids, we just have stuff like, and so sometimes it's a matter of like, how are you going to contain or organize your stuff? And you just need it in a way that like serves you well. So I remember listening to a podcast one time and it was just like talking about putting your towels in like bins. And I was like, yes, that will work for me because I could never seem to organize my towels. But if I just have to throw them in a bin, then I'll do it.
So I find this very interesting on what you're talking about here, and which got me thinking, and I wanted to hear your perspective on this. Do you think in our culture, or do you believe that we have become pretty materialistic, or maybe to use another more aggressive word, is we become more of a hoarding type of culture? Like, do you think that's an issue?
Yes, 100%. I think that like a lot of people I talk to, it's like they feel like they're drowning in stuff. And so all of a sudden it's like nothing's serving you, you're serving it. Like, so all of a sudden now you have to deal with all this stuff rather than just having the stuff you need to live. So yeah, 100%, I think it's a problem. Another thing I found too is like a girlfriend and I did like a decluttering challenge one year. This is kind of like how it all started. And it was a November. So on November 1st, we had to get rid of one thing. And then November 2nd, we had to do 2 and like so on and so on. And so it was really, really good. I actually realized like I had a lot more stuff than I thought I did. And then coming out of that, going into the Christmas season, I really didn't want to buy anything. Like I actually just felt like, wow, I don't really want to like just fill my house. So it kind of shifts your mindset a little bit where like you don't actually want to go out and buy things, which I think is really interesting. So
I like that you can have like a little friendly competition or turn it into a game, because then it is fun. And this is meant to be more enjoyable. It's supposed to be freeing, right?
Yes.
I also like that you're using the word decluttering, which maybe we need to understand that it's different from organizing.
Yes.
Though there's something to be said about organizing, correct?
I don't think I'm like a natural organizer. But I mean, there is times where like I find the thing on Amazon that like really helps me or whatever, but I don't think I'm that person that's coming in and helping you organize. I'm really just helping you like pare down your stuff. And then like, if you want to put it in a nice fancy bin, like that's great. And if that serves you, cool. But really it's just like, that stuff that, you've held on to, but you need help getting rid of or something that, suddenly your closet is like not a closet anymore. It's just a.
So maybe walk me through this a little bit. Yeah. Do you, like, obviously you can't just walk into somebody's house and just say, well, you need to get rid of this because it looks like you haven't opened that box.
No.
But I'm assuming you work with the person.
Yeah. So like, you kind of like, you have a relationship usually, or you have a discussion beforehand, like, okay, like what room do you want to start with? Maybe would be a good place to start. And like, what do you want it to feel like? How do you want it to flow? What do you want it to like look like? And then we kind of start from there. And then usually like I hear a lot like, oh, it's so bad. Like, no, it's so bad. And people have a lot of like shame and embarrassment around like their stuff, like having too much stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't think it's as bad as you think it is. Anyways, and then I usually come in and like, one of my favorite things, I don't know, I used to do this actually, I guess as a kid, I would do this in my bathroom, but I like to just take everything out. Like we just like take it all out. Like, let's just see what is all here. And then we start to like categorize it. Okay, like, do you have like 20 of these? Do you need 20 of these? And then you can kind of like just see what you have. I think it's really like eye-opening to see everything.
That's cool. Asking the questions, and really they're making that call.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you clarified. It's not like you're walking in there with a white glove and which one has most dust.
No,
it needs to go. No, that's beautiful. Because the idea is that they should want to do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They have to want to. Yeah. If they don't want to, like, it's not going to happen, and you shouldn't even start. Like, I think it's usually like they have to be in a place where they're like, I'm ready to burn everything. I'm ready to like throw it all in the garbage can. And then you're like, okay, I guess now is when we're going to start.
So have you found scenarios where like you're telling people not to throw certain things away? Or is it just, I mean, if they have too much of one thing?
No, actually not at all. So because, for example, like I'm not a big clothes person, and a lot of people are. And so like, I'm not about to tell you like how many pairs of jeans you should own, because maybe you're like a 20 jean person. Like, I don't know, whatever. Like, but it's just like whatever is for like the amount you want to keep, and also what your space allows. So I think part of it is like space. You have to have space for it. And then part of it is like, what is important to you? Are you really into whatever, XYZ? Then keep it. Like, I am not about to tell you like throw away the sewing machine if you're like, really want to pick up sewing, or I don't know, whatever. Yeah. I really don't feel like I boss people around. And then I just try to help them along, I guess. And then if they're like wanting to part with something and then they change their mind, like, I'm not going to bully them. I don't want them to have regrets. I don't want them to like, the next day be like, what did I do? Yeah.
I mean, I think you're really making a case for like, you're like a coach, because like you're walking with them, you're guiding, directing, you're showing them, we get coaches for working out, trainers, eating better, and they're like our cheerleaders, and you're giving them a different mindset, and you're just saying, hey, like, I want to show you can do this.
Yeah, exactly. It's really just like, I think literally another human being like doing it with you, that's not your spouse, that's not, that's just going to be honest, or just going to ask you the hard questions, not even hard questions, just ask you the questions, really. And then I think people purge a lot better when there's just somebody else there, and when we're in this and we're doing this and we're going to like give some time to this.
So it makes me wonder here. Okay, so somebody brings you in, they want to declutter, they want to like take on a specific room or their basement or their house. To me, it seems like it could be like a one-time thing that you come in there. But would you say that actually, no, this is like this idea of living a decluttered life can't just be a one-time event?
Totally. It can't. So like, I want to help people get started, and if I help them do a room and they're able to like do a room on their own, great. If I have to help them do their whole house, like, I will, but I think they have to be the one that maintains it, because it's really easy to add more things into your house. It's really easy to like clutter again. And so you do have to like be willing to kind of shift the mindset yourself. But I think the process helps, because you're like, wow, like, I feel so much better. I feel so much lighter. I feel freer. And then, so you remember that. So then when you're starting to feel bogged down again, you can kind of say, well, like, did I add a bunch of stuff to my house and to my life? Like, and
Okay. So that's interesting to me then, because, the decluttering lifestyle is not just about removing, but it's also about not adding.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too is it makes you really more picky about what you add.
Right.
So if you just got rid of like 20 mugs, you're not going to go out and buy mugs tomorrow. Or you're going to be like, do I love this mug? Is this like, I'm going to use this all the time. It's my favorite. And then if not, you're like, it's really a lot easier to say no to it.
Okay. So you find that relationship is really connected then, like, if you learn the art of decluttering, you practice that,
Yeah.
it will the byproduct of that, it will be that you're not going to want to add.
I think so. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That does actually make sense to me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of neat that you're actually working on a two-sided perspective here, right? And I'm assuming like you really have to work on both sides because you can do all that work.
Oh yeah.
Bring you in, declutter, make that room fancy, good.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
if you're going to bring in more things,
yeah,
yeah. So you mentioned earlier that you don't consider yourself a minimalist.
No.
But so in your opinion, what is the difference between being a minimalist and somebody who is activating a decluttering mindset?
I think a minimalist, maybe it's just like my false perspective or just my perspective. I think a minimalist, I think of like very little like decor and maybe like everything just looking very clean and like nothing on the counters and that kind of thing. And I don't think that's necessarily what decluttering means. I think like decluttering could mean you have a spot on your table that always collects stuff, but that's the spot. And, or you could, like, it doesn't mean that your house is like serene and like, I don't know how to explain it other than, I just think it doesn't mean you have no knickknacks. It means the knickknacks you have, you really care about and you're going to display them and they're important.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're just very intentional. I think about like what you put up and what you keep and maybe, a little more focus on what you get rid of.
I love that word, intentional.
Yeah.
Because when we're not intentional, it seems like things just kind of happen.
Yes.
But now you start having a desk, a table, a counter that gets piled up. And whether we care about it or not, but if we're not being intentional about not wanting that there, it becomes, that's why that's probably why junk drawers exist.
Yeah, totally.
Right, because.
And I've had a season too in my life where I had friends come in and help me kind of declutter, where I couldn't get rid of like kids' pictures or, I was just having a hard time with certain things and they were just like overtaking my life. And so I had friends come in and kind of like just do a massive, I don't know, reorganization of my house. But at the same time, we're like, do you want to keep this? What do you want? What do you want this? And I was like, but it really helped me, because I did feel like I needed that push. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So there's a question that I've been thinking a lot about, especially when I realize what you do. And you are coming at this from a physical decluttering perspective. I would love to know from your perspective, is there a correlation? Is there a connection from a physical decluttering lifestyle to your mind being decluttered? Like, is there a connection there that there's a benefit to your mind when you take care of this?
Yeah, I totally think so. And I've kind of experienced both sides. I'm not saying I'm an expert because I tried to be here. So I think it just happened by accident because I've lived both. Like I've lived in complete, like just overwhelm of too much stuff. And I've also known what it's felt like to not be living like that. And it does feel like your mind, like honestly, you'll like pick up that game that you never play because you went through all your games and decided which ones were important. Right. Like, it's just like, it's the silliest thing. Like, but yeah. Yeah.
And I want to kind of pause here for our audience that are listening to this. We have leaders from all different arenas. In case you're kind of sitting there wondering, what does this have to do with what I do? Right. Let me assure you, it has everything to do with it. Because if as leaders, we can learn to lead ourselves, and you're giving us some very practical things to think about decluttering our life physically. Every business, every leader out there, regardless of where you lead in, you will encounter this. And if we can practice to learn how to declutter physically, it will help us declutter in our minds, which is huge. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and so that's why I really appreciate what you're doing here, because it's almost like the start of something that ends up making us better people. And so but you said that you have experienced that, hey, with the mindset.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
And especially, I guess, with a bigger family, you end up just having more of a clear mindset.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of it is like just logistically, we don't live in a very large place, and we have 4 children, and so we just have to think about like are they using this toy? How important is this? And I mean, like, I don't know if you can like declutter perfectly with children, because like I've not mastered that.
Yeah.
But I do think like I want to teach them like how to like look at things and be able to part with things. And I don't think I've mastered that either, but I'm working with my kids on like, which picture is your favorite? We can't keep all 40 of them. Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad you went there, because that's the thing, right? With kids, whether you have 1, 2, 3, or 4, they're all different.
Yeah.
And parenting one child only is different than parenting 2 children. Anybody who has children out there can get that. I think where you went there is that just because we have children doesn't mean that we can't practice the art of decluttering.
Yes. Yeah.
In fact, we don't have to have it figured out, which is what I'm hearing from you is like you're giving us permission to say, okay, it's okay if you don't have it figured out, but invite your children to be part of it.
Yeah, totally. And you know what? They get really on board sometimes, and that's really exciting to see. And I think that's really helpful, because then they start to take ownership of their stuff. And and
no, that's great, because I know that again, we're talking about this around Christmas, right before New Year's, and we might be able to control what we buy for our kids, but we don't control our grandparents.
That's right.
Right? The grandparents, friends, other family members.
Yeah.
And so you got to love it when somebody gives a present to your kids that you're like, why would you give them that? Like, I'm still remembering when somebody gave, I think one of my brothers gave my kids a big, I don't even know what it was. It basically brought a bunch of plastic balls for them to like play in it, but it was a mess.
Okay, so it's just everywhere all the time. Yeah.
And so they don't have children, so they don't care.
Like I have a desire to not have Lego in my house. I do have some Lego in my house, but like it's not my favorite.
Right.
Because then I feel like you got to figure out how to store it. Like the kids aren't going to put it back how you want it put back. That's the other thing too. If it's like you have to do a system that works for you in the long run. So like if it's not something you're going to follow through on, like you got to figure out a way.
I think we got some parenting maybe advice here. I mean, and we're both parents, and we have a nice age gap in kids here. But I think another principle here is that every time you go to the store, you don't need to be buying a toy.
Oh no.
You don't need to be buying the next little thing. And teaching your children the importance of that can go a long way. So you're not just collecting toys. Like, I don't know about your household, but I know that there's toys in our house that they haven't touched for who knows how long.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. So, and I think the other thing too, like, okay, so one cool thing I like to do with my kids, and it's not because we can't afford to buy them stuff, but I like to teach them delayed gratification. So if they can earn the toy, like, first of all, that proves to me that they really wanted that thing. And then second of all, I feel like they just take care of it better because there's like ownership. It's not just like,
delayed gratification. That's a huge one. And I think we need to lead by example as parents, right?
We do, totally.
Well, because I mean, think about from an adult perspective, whether that's whether you're running a business or whatever, and you want to always get the next shiny toy.
Yes.
Like it applies to us too, right?
Yes, totally.
Like if you have too many of one thing, not because it's wrong to have multiple things, but it's more of the reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
Is it just because you're addicted to the shiny thing, right?
Totally.
And so I love that we're going there, because decluttering, making the choice to say, okay, I'm going to get rid of stuff is one part of it.
Yeah.
But we really have to also change the way we think about that and realize that actually we don't need to have stuff. Right?
Yeah.
So do you think that if we choose to practice this decluttering lifestyle, we'll say, that there's a connection to being a better steward?
Yeah, I think so. I think like if you have decided like this is the one item that I'm going to keep out of X number of items, I think if that breaks, you're going to fix it. Or you're more likely to, I guess. I think there is a correlation there. Like,
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. You're right. I guess it would change our mindset of valuing what we have.
Yeah.
Right? Because the whole idea of stewardship is not only taking care of things.
Mm-hmm.
There's a word that people use out there that I really don't care for, and I'll say it.
Okay.
It's the being frugal.
Okay, yeah.
Because frugal could just be like, I just want to.
Right.
I'm.
You don't want to hold on to stuff either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But stewarding could be one of the attributes of stewardship is that you're willing to be generous and give away too.
Yes. Yes.
And so.
Well, and okay, sorry.
No,
to
no.
cut you off. I just feel like when we hold things lightly, like this is just been my experience. When you hold things lightly, it's just so much easier to like give that thing away to the next family who needs it. Like because you're not thinking about like this is mine and I don't know. You don't have because we don't take any of it with us when we go, like when we pass away, we don't take anything with us.
Yeah.
So I just think like to hold things lightly, I don't know, is like a good practice. And yeah.
No, I 100% agree with what you're saying, because I believe in the idea we need to add value to people. Like we need to be generous. And in fact, I actually did want to ask you that. What was that connection that you see with being generous and practicing decluttering? Is there a connection? Maybe there isn't.
Well, I think like it just starts with when you start doing it, because you think about, and this is honestly where people get stuck a lot of times, because they think, oh yeah, I want to donate this, or I want to give this to so-and-so, but then they get stuck because they don't see that person, or it just lives in their car or whatever. But I think if you just figure out a way to get rid of it, in that moment, then, the next time you have that opportunity, you're going to think of that person and go, oh yeah, they would love this. And I don't actually need it anymore. So I'm going to pass it on to them. But you first have to kind of like purge a bunch of stuff before you can like get to that point. And then I think it's just easier after that.
Actually, that actually caught my eye when I saw one of your marketing materials about your business. You, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
You were saying that you'll even take away things for people so they can be given away as part of your business.
Because like 100% people will just fill up their garage or their van, and I have done it too, where like I just need it out of sight, but you actually still haven't dealt with it yet. Like it's still waiting to move on to a new home. And you know what? I've thrifted some cool things that I really like, and so I like to think about that when I'm getting like donating stuff. I'm like, you know what? Somebody else is really going to love this in this season, and I'm not using it, or I'm not using it well. Yeah.
So, we talked about generosity, and I mean, in a culture where side hustles are a big deal and all that, do you recommend people to do garage sales? Do you help them do that kind of stuff?
You know what? I don't, but that's because we did a failed garage sale a few years ago. And I just think that's not how people do things anymore. And maybe like we also have a back garage, so maybe that, people can't see it easily. But I think like I will sell stuff on Marketplace for people if they're kind of getting stuck and they don't know how to do that. I know I helped my mom do that once, and now she's like, she just does it all the time. But I think she just needed somebody to like show her and do it for her the first time. And now she buys a bunch of stuff that way as well. So, but yeah, I think it's just like, I'll take it away. I'll, take it to Goodwill or donate it, whatever. I'll even like take it to that person if you really like wanted me to do that. I will shred stuff. I will just help you get rid of it, even if it just means temporarily moving it to my garage, so that you don't have to see it while it gets kind of dealt with. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
You know what? I guess it's true, right? I mean, with Marketplace and all the other ways that you can sell things, somebody out there might actually have some money just sitting there.
Yeah.
And
that too.
Right? Like
totally.
You might be able to make a quick dollar if anybody's looking for some extra money after Christmas.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
It could be a good thing. But I don't want to take away from the idea of that we can be generous too.
Yeah.
By getting rid of stuff. And potentially, there might be junk, right?
Yeah.
Like there is things that need to go to the garbage.
Yes, of course.
But do you find though that in the process of decluttering that people find actually decent shaped things that they can give away? And
yes, and sometimes they find things that they're like, oh, I've been looking for this thing forever, and and so then they find something special that they can actually display it. And but yes, they do find things and they're like, oh, I didn't know I had 2 of these. I could sell one of them. And it's like very smart to do that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So your husband, Matt,
Yeah.
Was he on board when you started doing this, or was that something that you had to kind of like?
Well, he was kind of on board, but it's just because, so like, it's kind of in my nature. Like, another way that this kind of started too was we helped a lot of people move because we'd moved so many times. We were like, and what we would often see is like a lot of people packing in the last minute. And then when they're packing in the last minute or even unpacking, they're like, why did I bring this XYZ thing? Or they need help, like, getting rid of stuff. They're like, I don't want to bring all this stuff over. And so I think I saw a need there in when people were moving, they would realize how much stuff they had. And then they all of a sudden needed help dealing with it. And so like, even though we help people move, we saw a lot of that kind of before you move process where people either dealt with stuff or didn't. And kind of the fallout of that. So, because stuff then either just remains in boxes at your new house or yeah. I mean, that's probably what happens. Right. But yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know what? And I get it. We all have busy lives. Yeah. There's a lot of reasons we can come up with, right?
Of course.
On why that happens. Maybe I'm thinking here, and tell me if you agree with this, it starts with giving ourselves some grace.
Oh, yeah.
And going, okay, it doesn't matter what has happened here.
Yes.
That we can make the choice today.
Yes.
To change that.
Yes, totally.
If you grew up with this mindset of that hoarding is a great idea,
right?
And if you practiced it yourself,
right,
you don't have to continue living it.
Yeah. One also, like, and that's the other thing too, is like, I will never tell people, like I said before, like what they can keep or not keep. Yep. So if they want to keep every screw, like this would be my dad. If you want to keep like every screw because you might need it one day, like then do that. Yeah. Don't feel like you have to like fit into this box of what somebody says is you need to have or can't have, but do it in a way that like it's not piled over top of you, kind of.
Okay, I'm glad that you reminded us on that, because like you're not trying to change people's personalities.
No.
And the reality is that we all have our different ways that we like to do things, and there's collectors right out there, but it is just trying that you can have a decluttered lifestyle within your personality. Yeah. And within how you function. And so you don't have to you don't have to feel like you have to change. Yeah. But you have to think of it different.
Yeah. Another thing too that I find too is people have a really hard time getting rid of stuff if they're like, so and so gave this to me, and if they ever found out, you know, I think there is that too. So I don't want to ever do anything like because I'm fearful or because I feel guilty. Like I just want to like, that's kind of one of my mottos, but it's just like I don't want to do anything out of fear or guilt. So I just think like I want to like free people of like, if I gave you something and like 5 years from now it is not serving you, like just get rid of it. And not everybody's going to be that gracious to you, but I think we just think people think a lot more about us than they actually do. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they're not thinking about that thing that they gave us 20 years ago that we better never sell. Yeah.
I love that you went, you're talking about even like the whole people pleasing thing. Because we can't live our lives according to what we assume other people are thinking. Yes. Because a lot of the time it's not true. Yeah. Right. And so if somebody else chooses to live their lifestyle, you know, their life in a different way, then sure. But we don't have to do it like that, or we don't have to do it the way our parents did it. Yeah. So that's so cool. I love what you're doing with this, because I think you're promoting a healthy way of living. And I think that's exactly what happens when you choose to be intentional. Right. Do you think that businesses need to be aware of how much clutter they collect? Like, do you think it's more of like a home thing, or do you think that this is more of a universal principle that we need to be aware of? I don't know, maybe universal. Like I see it a lot in people's homes. Yeah. But I think that's because that's where you come and you kind of like let your hair down. And like I do remember as a child, like my locker and everything was like immaculate, and my school books, and my mom used to say, how can somebody who's so organized like have a room that looks like this? Because my room would look like a bomb went off. But I could live in that organized chaos, whatever, for that season, but I needed some part of my life to be. So I think a lot of times people compartmentalize, like their office might look really nice and neat, and then their home might not, or vice versa. Ooh, okay. I'm glad you said that. So if you think about it, if your office is all nice and clean, and maybe it's for show, maybe because if you didn't have it clean, your boss would fire you. Right. But if you think about it, if your house is not, I was going to use the word clean, but that's
Okay.
not even the correct word to use.
No.
If it's not um, free of clutter,
Right.
and you're coming home to that, uh, it has to affect your other life, your other workplace,
Totally.
because you're not unified in that, right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Because I know that you have this business, but this is not a first-time business owner.
Right.
You guys are entrepreneurs. Do you remember that book, The Personality Tree?
Oh yeah.
I think of that, and I'm wondering, do you think that the different personalities, you had choleric, melancholy, phlegmatic, and sanguine, and
Yeah.
for any of you who are not familiar with these, it's a great book. It just, I learned a lot about myself and a lot how people work. But um, do you think that the different personalities will declutter differently? I mean, a choleric is more of a controlling person.
Right.
Sanguine is more of like, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Which my wife is, and I make fun of her of that.
Okay.
But melancholies tend to be very organized, very particular on how they want. Um, I guess what I'm trying to ask is that decluttering is not a personality type.
No, and I think you can have a bend, like I'm probably melancholy, so you can have a bend to be like, maybe more organized or not.
Yep.
But I think everybody can declutter. Yeah, I don't think it like has to look a certain way. Like I'm never gonna have like a Pinterest looking home. I'm never gonna, like you're never gonna like open my closet and go, wow, Amanda, like look at all these bins or whatever. Right. Yeah, but I have like my spices organized a certain way because it just like I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah.
Well, I think what I would add to what you just said is that if you're listening to this podcast episode and you're thinking, I'm not jiving with what they're talking about because it's not my personality, well, this is where you come in. I'm gonna plug you in here because it's like, well, then you don't use somebody else's brain. Yeah. Let Amanda help you.
Totally.
And like you said, you don't really help people organizing things, but there's people out there that do that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
So we're eliminating excuses for you today. That if you want to live a decluttered life, then ask for help.
Totally.
If you don't know how to start it. Yeah. And we're gonna share how people can get a hold of you in a moment here. But like, just ask for help because you have the expertise. You've been doing this and you're learning a lot from going into different homes and places. So you'll have a different perspective.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what I love about getting you to help is that you're not attached to any of the things that people have in their home.
No.
So you can bring a very non-biased perspective into it, right?
It's so helpful. Even when people do that for me. Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like it's not like I'm better at this thing. No. It's just like having somebody else, come in from an outside perspective. You're right, and look at it objectively.
Right.
Do you need this many wardrobes? Like why do you have this many? And not in a judgy way, not at all in a judgy way, just in like a tell me what the purpose is. Let's see if this is functioning well. Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, that's a good way to put that because we can't feel like everybody's out to get us.
No.
Like the moment you ask a question, why, it just to get you to think like, actually, is this a useful item?
Yeah.
Is this actually working for you?
Yeah.
Or is it there just because?
Well, and I think this is why people like get to the end of themselves and then reach out for help. Like I wish they didn't. I wish people asked for help sooner. But I think that's why, because they feel some embarrassment or they feel some shame and they don't want to ask for help. But like as soon as you do and you can like kind of like work through it, I don't know. I more feel like I'm like coaching people through life stuff.
Okay.
Like totally.
100%. And you said something very important there. And I 100% agree with you on the being proactive part.
Yeah.
We don't have to wait until we don't know what to do. There's no other options.
Right.
Like be proactive. Leaders make decisions up front and they lead their life. They don't react to life, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that you said so many great things, but what you're inviting people to do is say, hey, lead your life by being proactive, asking for help, and saying, okay, I don't want to find myself one day and having to, declutter a whole house
Yeah.
when I can declutter a room today.
Right.
And maybe we'll take it one step further and
Right.
say, let's have legacy.
Yeah.
And if we're getting older, let's not leave it to our
Yes.
children
Yeah.
or family members to do that
Yeah.
dirty work for us.
Yes, totally.
Right?
Yeah.
And I know there's no science to back this up, but maybe there's a connection here of living longer and happy
Right.
if you're not living a decluttered life.
Right.
We're going to make that science up right now.
Right.
But you know what I mean, though?
Yeah.
Because I think there would be a connection.
Yeah.
100%. If you have a healthy mindset, you have it connects to everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
And I mean, you live a positive life.
Mm-hmm.
So you've told us you gave us a lot of nuggets that I think we need to catch here and to starting out the new year in a great way. In the It Matters podcast, we do want to encourage leaders. And I just want to know if there's a quote or an advice that has been given to you that has really kind of helped you, move forward in business or in life.
Okay. Like I thought of a lot, but I wanted to narrow it down. So
yeah.
Okay, so I said one of them already, but just don't do anything out of fear or guilt. And I don't know if somebody said it to me exactly that way. Either way, that's how I took it. Yep. And it's really served me well in my life. So just with like literally any decision that you're making, like business, personal, otherwise.
Yep.
And then like life is hard and God is good. So that those things go together and it's not one or the other. And so we kind of have to live in this life that is hard and know that God is good and yeah.
That's powerful. That is powerful because that we think that if life is hard, that means everything else is just not good for us. And no, I like that's a deep quote. I like that.
Yeah. I don't know that it totally relates to everything we talked about today, but it's just, yeah.
No, but you know what? I mean, those are the type of things that we hold dear to our hearts, and it connects because it's made you a better person, and it's made you a better leader in how you mother, how you're a wife, and of course how you're a business owner as well, right? And so an entrepreneur. So, I love that. That's awesome. So, one question that I love to ask my guests on the It Matters podcast is, what matters to you? And I know it's probably a given that decluttering matters to you, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's it. But I want to go in a little bit deeper. Is there something else in this season of life?
Yeah.
And where you're at right now with your beautiful children and your husband, like, what matters to you right now?
Well, I think right now, it's just my faith. And we went through a short but difficult season. And I just feel like, wow, I could lose everything. And I would just be left with my faith. And so at the end of the day, I just want to do everything well and to the glory of God. And that's what I want my legacy to be, essentially. And so if everything else falls away tomorrow, that's what I'm left with. So, and I want to teach that to my kids. So yeah.
I love that. And, I feel like my calling in life and why this podcast exists, I think you just nailed it, because I want to do well.
Yeah.
But I also want to help other leaders, other people to do well.
Yeah.
And I love how you phrase that, because that'll be your legacy. And yeah, and I think you guys are doing it, and it's just so cool that that's kind of where you're at.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem.
So we have somebody listening to this podcast and they go, okay, I bought into what Amanda's been chatting about.
Yeah.
How do people get a hold of you? How do they find out more about you?
Okay. So Cut the Clutter. So it's cut_the_clutter.edm on Instagram. That's one way you can reach out to me.
Cool.
And you can find me there and send me a message. Yeah.
Cool. And we're going to put that in the show notes so people can find you. And I love this conversation. I think that I will follow along, and I think there's so much more that we can chat about when it comes to this topic, and I'm excited to see your business evolve
Cool.
and how you're helping people. I really think you're helping people, and so that's why it was so important for me to have this conversation. And I thought, if any of you out there go like, is there coincidence that it's at the end of the year? Not at all. Because I want to help you all understand, and even if you don't end up hiring Amanda, like pause and see, okay, what can I do to live a more decluttered lifestyle that will make me more efficient, more productive,
totally.
right? And win at life in that. And so, but do check out her Instagram page. Ask questions. And if you have any questions for her, or even if you direct them to us, I'll direct them to Amanda, and maybe we can answer future questions on a future episode, and even bring Amanda back in the future. But I hope that you guys love this. Please share this with somebody. There's probably somebody in your life that is.
And if you don't know, it's you.
I love that. There you go.
Sorry.
There's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know anybody, it's probably you. And so you need to actually pause right now and say, okay, I need to get a hold of Amanda, or I need to go look at that room that I have to deal with.
Yeah.
But this is not, again, to be a shameful, for you to feel guilty.
No.
This is meant to make you better.
We've all been there.
100%.
Yeah.
And maybe it is it's an ongoing thing, right?
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't just do it one time, and you talked about that today, but allow yourself to just move at the pace of your life, and kind of do it as you go, so then you don't wake up one day going, what happened?
Yeah, totally.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
This has been a great conversation.
Nice.
And for all of you out there, like I said, share this with somebody, like it, comment, let us know what you think. I know Amanda would appreciate hearing from you as well. And we're trying to make you better. We want to help you be better. And I hope as leaders out there that you took something today and you can apply it. And because we believe around here that it's a win-win when the leader leads well. And I believe that we tried to help you do that today. And so we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye for now.